right, so we know a lot about the Ice Age because, as you can imagine, during the Ice Age, things freeze over, so they can be easily preserved. And actually, for most of human history, we were in the Ice Age period. Okay, and as you can see, during the Ice Age, the entire world was basically frozen over. So how did we survive? Well, we survived by using the resources around us. Okay, so this is a mammoth. And so they killed a mammoth and they turned the mammoth into a house. Okay? Now the question is, how did they know how to do that? How did they figure it out? And we've been trying for a long time to figure this out, but my answer to you, and this is a theme that I will keep on emphasizing throughout the rest of the semester, is they just knew it. Okay? So let's do a thought experiment. Let's just say that there's 10 of us, and I give you this wall, right? And I say to you, you cannot talk, you cannot communicate with each other. All I want you to do is draw a picture. Now you would think that the picture would be disgustingly ugly. It would be incoherent. But if you actually do this experiment, something weird and wonderful would happen, okay? There's 10 of you, you're not communicating, you don't have a plan, there's no draft, but one of you would draw something, okay? And then the rest of you would see that something, and then you would draw something else, okay? So for example, maybe you draw a sun, then you draw a tree, then that other person draws a mountain, okay? It's almost like telepathy, and that's how we are. If you put humans in a group, they would know instantly how to work together, and they would know how to share ideas together. And so that's the idea I want to present to you. All this stuff is, all this is because of intuition, okay? No one said, hey, there's a mammoth, let's go kill it for food and for housing and for clothing. But if you walk together and you saw a mammoth, all of you together had the same thought. Oh, that could be a source of food and clothing and shelter for us. And you all knew how to work together. That's the beauty of the human imagination and the human empathy. And that's something that back then they practiced a lot, but we've lost because of civilization. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys? All right. And as you can see, back then, humans were just very good at working together. No, you didn't need to have a boss to say, okay, you should go and hunt bisons. You should go and you should make clothes. You should go and you should feed kids. Everyone knew exactly what to do. And you didn't have to communicate. But also what's really interesting about this time period is the diversity of human organization. So what I mean by that is that in different times of the year, in different locations, humans would form different organizations. So most of the time, maybe there'd be groups of like 5 to 10 who would go and get food, okay? But then you have some times of the year when you have these religious festivals where hundreds, possibly thousands got together and you celebrated your God together. It was all intuitive. You didn't have communication, but they all knew at what time, what organization would best fit them. If you didn't like the situation, guess what? You'd go somewhere else and start your own organization. Okay? So early human history, it's a very diverse, very dynamic, very creative period in our lives, even though we've forgotten about it. Okay? And the clearest example of our creativity are these cave paintings that were discovered recently, but which date back 30,000, 40,000 years. Okay? You can see how beautiful these paintings are. Whoever painted these paintings put a lot of care and devotion into them, okay? It's not just kids playing. It's adults who've spent a long time purposefully ensuring that every detail is exact, okay? Then the question then is, how do they do this? Because there's no paper, there's no planning. And again, I present to you the idea, the imagination. They dreamt this. They had a dream, they saw the picture in their heads, and they went and drew this in a cave because they wanted to express themselves. They wanted to leave a legacy. They wanted to leave a memory. There's a calling in you to be creative and to be imaginative. Okay? All right. So, and you can see there's a lot of diversity. this is a story, right? Because you have these horses, but then you have these predators, lions. Okay, so this picture is telling a mythology. It's just telling a story of how nature works. Okay, so people are observing nature, and what they see is a cycle of life and death, of destruction and renewal. We're all together. We're all unified. We're all one. It's balance and harmony. And that's why if you were to kill these animals, you also had to commemorate them. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, because this is a world of balance and harmony. If you kill these animals and you eat their food, you must thank them for their sacrifice by commemorating them. It's the same thing as later on, when humans fight in battles, we build monuments to celebrate those who were fallen, right? Because we want to create balance and harmony in the world. We want to commemorate those who made our lives possible. Okay? So in this world, what matters are these animals, because these animals are what gives humans food and clothing. Okay? Okay, you can see how beautiful these pictures are. Like, do you see how lifelike the animals are? Okay, so clearly, we humans had all this creative potential back then. All right. Okay, this is in Spain, in Altamira. This is a bison, and you can see the red ochre, how beautiful it is, okay? Okay. And you can see how it's not meant to be realistic. It's meant to be surreal. It's meant almost to be a mythology. There's a story being told in these pictures. We don't know what the story is, but you can imagine that there's a story of life and death, destruction and renewal. Okay, and you can see the struggle of humanity to get food from nature, but also a willingness to celebrate those who have fallen. And there's religious significance to everything, these cave paintings. How do we know? Because this is clearly a shaman, right? What we call a leopard man. This dates back to 40,000 years in Germany. So we believe that in the early societies, these shamans were the leaders because they had the most wisdom, because they had a connection to the divine. Also, what's really important is that music, okay, this instrument, was really important to these civilizations. Now, there's a lot of mystery as to how we first spoke. And as I said, actually, we don't really need to speak because we can all understand each other. So why do we speak? Because we want to sing. Okay, does that make sense? Singing, creating music, was a way to express ourselves in the same way as painting was. And music, once you add words, it becomes storytelling. And that's why we created language. Okay? Not for economic reasons, not in order to create a hierarchy, but for creative reasons, to celebrate our humanity together. And these pictures, as you can see, there are religious elements, okay? So you can see how there are two almost bird figures. And back then, the birds signify Mother Earth, okay? So the bird figure is very important. And you can see almost like the bird figures are leading the animals, herding the animals across.